Good afternoon. Welcome to the TCG Pro Show. Thanks for tuning in. If you're watching this live, we definitely want questions from you. We want to get your feedback. We want to have a conversation. I'm Brad. If you haven't been watching this before, this is my co-host, Don. Today, we're joined with a special guest who I'm real excited to have on. He spent the last, 14 or 15 years in real estate in the area, is fastly building a reputation for himself. Some of his accolades are 2013 NAR Young Professional Network of the Year, 2016 NC Realtor Innovation and Entrepreneurial Excellence Award, and just last year, the Triad Business Journal made the 40 under 40. Mark Saunders, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time out and sit down and talk to us today. So, Mark, tell us a little bit about your background. How'd you get into real estate? How'd you find yourself here?
Yeah, sure. So I was interested in real estate early on. Actually, my dad's the reason. He invested a little bit in real estate around Myrtle Beach in the late 90s, and I just thought that was really interesting. So went to Appalachian State, got a degree in marketing, and got my real estate license while I was in college, and came out. And around 2005, went into real estate full-time. My background is mostly property management. So I started out as a salaried property manager and learned a lot through that. And I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I started watching all the technology and changes that happens in our industry. And then changed companies a couple times and started my own firm, Saunders Realty, in 2015. And we do residential sales and a very high-tech version of property management.
So is that mostly in the Winston area, Greensboro, or just Triad?
Mostly Forsyth County. Forsyth County up into Stokes, a little bit into Davison. So that's kind of our area from pretty much northern part, Davison County, all of Forsyth County, Kernersville, and up into the King area.
Do you specialize in a certain type of property, or?
Not necessarily. We do residential sales, and I don't do any type of commercial real estate. I teach a lot of real estate as well, and I tell agents all the time, stick with what you know. So I don't do short sales, but residential sales, and the property management side is mostly residential property management, single-family homes.
Okay.
So you said how big is your company? How many agents and all?
So we've grown. October 2015, started my own company, opened the doors and set up my desk, and I was the only one there. I was like, great, what do we do now? We've grown now we've got 4 agents total. I've got Justin's my property manager, Athena's property manager coordinator, and then Leslie's operations manager at my office, Ashley's marketing person, and then Lisa. And we're now managing around 115 houses in the area. Wow. Last year, sales-wise, we did right around $16 million in sales, about 90 transactions. So
excellent.
It's been pretty busy.
Do you have a preference on which side of the business you like to be in?
It goes back and forth. So some days I'm like, why do I do property management? Other days I'm like, why do I do sales? I like doing both. Both of them offers different challenges. Property management's I've done it so long now, and we have it very systemized, and I just like helping people, and so I love the marketing aspect. So my role now at my company is mostly the listing side of things. Like I said, I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I love the marketing aspects, the videos, the Facebook targeting that we do, a lot of the technology stuff. But I enjoy both sides.
So I guess since 2005, when you got out of college, real estate's changed a lot over that time period. And I know you're big on that technology, and you feel like that's important. How do you feel like it's changed from then to now? What are the biggest things that are different?
So definitely with technology, the communications with the clients. I have been fortunate enough that I travel and teach a lot of technology to other real estate agents throughout the state. And we talk about this, how our industry's changed. And especially in the 90s, early 2000s, the real estate brokers were more the information holders. We had, driving and showing. We would show houses and pick them all out. And then what we talk about in my technology class, you started seeing around 2003 to 2005 what we call the super consumer, where all the information's out there. And so now a lot of times consumers are finding the houses. Our roles change because now we're more bringing in value in a different way, where we're more of an advisor to a person might come and say, hey, these are the 5 houses we like. Now we're looking for the red flags. I mean, just like I know y'all do with home inspections, what are the red flags and the things we need to watch for. And so that's definitely changed on that aspect. And also, I laugh because we're in an I want it now society. People want microwaves. They don't want crock pots. So they call and I want to see this house. When can you show it to me? And we're like, well, I'm available. And they're like, can you show it to me now because we're in the driveway, and kind of thing.
Man.
So the response, and if you look at how you have to respond to online leads and everything, things are just moving so much faster now.
Go ahead.
So agents don't, carry a buyer around and show them half a dozen houses,
no,
whatever,
usually,
near as much as what they used to.
Yeah, used to be, a client was coming into town and you'd say, all right, I'm going to pick out 10 houses and this is what we're going to look at. That's completely changed because now most of the times, especially now through our websites and everything, our clients usually find the house and know about it before we do because we have the technology in place to notify them when something hits the market. The minute it hits the market, they know about it. So a lot of times now you might not be driving around. They might come to you and say, here's our list of 4. They've researched it. They know the schools, districts. They know pretty much everything there is to know about that property. But there's still a lot of value that the brokers have to add. Most of the people aren't going to know about the dangers of underground oil tanks or radon or stuff like that. So it's just the knowledge, I think, is what's definitely changed, and how a broker provides value throughout that.
Do you think a lot of that value is basically in guiding them through the process?
Yeah, I think so. It depends because a lot of times now, depending, a client might find the house they want to buy. Well, our job starts the minute they decide to start making an offer. Between researching and making sure that it's the right price they're being offered, what kind of offer needs to be structured for that person because everybody's different. They might have a large down payment, but they want to have it structured a different way, and then guiding them throughout the process because there are a lot of moving parts in a real estate transaction. Like radon, for example, we were talking about that earlier. We have a high level of radon around here, and if you ask most home buyers, they've probably never heard of radon before. But it's a big deal. More people, die of radon exposure each year than drunk driving. And, a lot of people don't realize the different numbers involved with that. So, so definitely educating throughout the whole process, saying this is what you need to look out for. North Carolina's big for underground oil tanks. So you got to be very, very careful. If you're looking at it to buy a house and you see 2 little knobs sticking out of the ground, that should be like sirens going off. And how do you negotiate through that and work through it?
I just want him to say that again, that radon is a big deal around here. When we just sat down and talked to somebody today, we had a client today, and he said, y'all don't really have radon in this area, do you? And that's, I hear, how often do we hear that? Once a week, twice a week?
Yeah, often.
Oh, well, y'all don't really have radon in this area, but we do have radon, and radon is a concern. So.
Radon has been found in, I think now, every county in North Carolina. If you look towards the coast, because when I started in real estate, I always heard you don't have to worry about it down along the coast. Well, you do. It's just not as near as common. But the problem is most people aren't testing it down there.
Right.
So there's not a sample to pull from. But I was teaching a class in Nags Head in the Outer Banks, and you can actually go onto the North Carolina radon map, and it'll tell you the readings for every county. And there was a radon that came in at like 18 in Nags Head.
Wow, I wouldn't have expected that either.
And they were like, we don't have radon down here. And I'm like, really? And so,
maybe you do.
So it's definitely something. Yeah, there's just so many things. And you get out of your area, you start buying houses around the airport. Now you're talking about noise noise issues and everything like that. So there's a lot of moving parts.
Oh yeah. So how do you feel like? I know right now we're in pretty much a seller's market. Properties move pretty fast. How does technology weigh into that factor, that demand? Yeah,
so obviously, and you're right. So we are definitely a seller's market, and in a certain price range, houses are moving pretty fast. One thing that we do, and if I'm the listing agent for my client, I really don't want the property to go under contract in a day because I might not be serving my client's best needs if we take the first offer that comes in at asking price. So there's different ways you can do it. A lot of the ways we've started doing our listings is, and we saw quite a few over asking price by saying, what we're going to do, we're going to list it on a Tuesday. We're not going to respond to any offers till maybe that next Monday. We're going to give it time to truly expose it to the market. And we're going to use technology like targeted Facebook ads. We might have running Facebook events for open houses that Sunday. And so, and I did this for a property in Kernersville not long ago, and we had 32 showings in 48 hours we had multiple offers. But if we'd have taken the first one that came in, we would have been shorting our client. So, things change and markets go up and down. But, be wary if an agent says, hey, I sold this house in a day. I'm always kind of like, I wonder if you left something out there because you didn't truly expose it to the market. So, and that's where the agents that really do well in this industry and continue to do well are the ones that provide value and can say, hey, well, you might not want it to go under contract in 3 days. Let's look at the pros and cons of that and weigh it out to what's best for your situation.
With the market like it is, it seems to us that it's more important than ever for real estate agents to be more and more educated about what they can do for their client, whether it be the buyer or the seller. They need to be more educated when they're going into the process, as opposed to just kind of waiting for it to take care of itself as it goes through the process.
Absolutely. I mean, prime example is I went and looked at a house today, and the client, because we do sales and property management, it allows us to do, what's best for our client. And maybe it's not best to sell their house right now. Let's rent it for the next 4 or 5 years. But, having that knowledge and things change. I'm learning something every day in this industry. But I went and looked at this house, and I could tell walking up to the front door, the roof has some age on it. I mean, it's probably a 30-year roof. So, and I know, all right, so that's going to eliminate FHA financing right off the bat, unless that client is willing to go ahead and put a new roof on or be prepared for that in negotiation. And I noticed this house it's an Ardmore house in Winston. It's built probably 52, 55, peel and paint on the back. All right, that's another red flag you have to pay attention to because that's going to eliminate FHA financing as well, unless somebody's willing to really put some money in. Now, lead-based paint is going to kick you into another category if you decide to rent it because there's some liability issues there too. And so having that knowledge going into it, we can put together kind of a marketing plan because you might not, want to really advertise FHA financing if you're going to have to do a lot of work up front in order for that to qualify. So
you can save your client a whole lot of money, due diligence money, if you, as an agent, are aware of these issues up front.
Oh, yeah, aware of these issues and just kind of know what to look for. One issue that we run into, so in real estate, and we hadn't really talked about it, but in 2012, I started teaching technology classes to agents, and I've been fortunate enough to write some continuing education classes. And in those classes, we talk about the 4 S's. So the 4 S's are areas real estate agents have really got to look for. Storage tanks, which is oil tanks, square footage, streets, and septic tanks. Those are the 4 S's you got to really watch for because, for example, like a septic tank, you might walk through a house and see that this is truly a 3-bedroom house, but when you pull that septic permit, it's a 2-bedroom house.
Right.
Okay, that causes, and I see that a lot in our area with houses. So knowing that and going in and to a listing and say, all right, this is issues you're going to have to, that's going to come up. I can't advertise your house as a 3-bedroom. We're going to have to kind of look at it this way. So any type of insight that you can see that might come up, if you can address that at the beginning, it makes the process so much smoother and people kind of know what to expect. It's kind of like, I'm sure y'all say this a lot, the property disclosure statement. If buyers see stuff on there, it goes over a whole lot easier than when they see the issues pop up on home inspections.
Oh, yeah. Right. So that really is on the listing side. The listing agent should have made these items apparent.
Yeah, and the commission says there's certain things an agent should do, and pulling septic permits and making sure what you're advertising is correct based off septic permits. You could be held responsible for that. So.
Well, and you look at the situation the client's getting into. I mean, if the health department gets involved, their stance is you bring it up to code. You either remove a bedroom or you upgrade the system. So,
and the thing with septic systems, a lot of times the situation's not found until they go to sell their house. So the system might be fine, and they bought the house 4 years ago. And with average a person now moves between 5 to 7 years. They live in the house for 5 years. Everything's fine. They think they own a 4-bedroom house. Then they call an agent, whoever, that does a little bit of research and like, well, I'm sorry, you don't own a 4-bedroom house. You have a 3-bedroom house. That's going to hurt your resale value.
Oh, yeah.
And so then they're going to be like, well, why was I sold a 4-bedroom house? So that's when a lot of times that issue will come up.
Yep,
absolutely. I have a question. Do you advocate pre-listing inspections? Do you think that that's a valuable thing?
It is. It is in situations. Every situation is kind of different. Again, like I said a minute ago, if you can kind of see the issues and you can go ahead and address them, it just makes things so much smoother. if you're driving around on a boat and you can see where the rocky hazards are and you can just avoid them altogether, it's going to be a whole lot better time out there. So that helps as well, kind of eliminate a lot of that stuff.
I imagine different personality types of sellers make that more and less helpful. I'm sure there's some that you're like, look, you need to do this, 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 and this to get ahead of the game. And they're like, sure, that's great. And the other ones are like, yeah, I don't want to spend the money, this and that. And then you kind of have to, that sometimes having an inspector come through and say, look, this is going to show up on a home inspection report. And the buyer's going to either want to negotiate or something. They're going to want something out of the deal. So
And again, it's just be prepared.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that you have a pretty massive crack in the back corner of your foundation. If you don't want to have that looked at by an engineer up front and go ahead and see what's coming, be prepared, because that's going to be brought up later. And so it's just trying. I mean, we can't predict or anticipate everything, but if you can definitely see these red flags sticking out there, it kind of helps to go ahead and address them and talk about them.
Well, we have a lot of appreciation for the perspective you take on this. I mean, I think that's a whole lot to step above what we see in some of your colleagues. I think is the way to say that. So back to technology. So technology has changed a lot coming into now. How do you see technology changing the role of a realtor over the next few years? Zillow and these types of things are coming in.
Sure.
Is it going to be different to be a real estate agent 5 years from now?
It really is. And I've been saying a lot in my classes, I feel like for the next 5 years probably, we're going to see as much change in our industry as we did back in mid-90s, which is when the small thing called the internet came out. So internet kind of changed everything with MLS and all of that, IDX feeds to websites and all. You're going to see that big change now. And so, Zillow now, a lot of people don't realize Zillow is a licensed firm in North Carolina. You can go to the North Carolina Real Estate Commission now, and they are a firm, licensed, firm number and everything in North Carolina. Brings up a lot of questions with that. But they're doing the instant offers now. You also have OfferPad. I know Redfin, I think, is getting into the business too. I think it's Redfin. So the instant offers are there. There's going to be a lot of change, and the agents that really do well, I feel like, are the ones that can provide value right off the bat. The ones that can go on a listing appointment, and even if you don't get and this is the way I try to look at it. If you're not going to go with me, that's fine. But I'm going to at least try to leave you with enough value that if you go with somebody else, you know the questions to ask, because I just feel like that's the right thing to do. And I'm a firm believer that's going to come back more times than not. So if you don't go with me, we'll talk to them about this crack in the foundation or anything like that. But the agents that really have a hard time expressing what their value is and everything, it's going to be tough because this market is changing. It's getting even more competitive. We're probably already in one of the most competitive industries out there, and it's just getting more and more because you're seeing large firms with a lot of investment money coming into the business.
Yeah, in the past, a lot of times it's been, what you can do as an agent versus another agent. Now you've got the big companies coming in that are offering packages and whatever. And that doesn't put a personal face with, and I think that will always have value, right? But they're coming in and spending a lot of dollars to get in front of people. So
and you just have to weigh it all out. I'm all for convenience. I mean, and the Zillow offers and stuff, we're offering you a convenience because you don't have to do showings or anything. But what's it really costing you? Because I know I sold a house in Ardmore not long ago. If we would have sold it at the Zillow estimate, the great Zillow estimate, right? Then my clients would have ended up losing about $40,000 because we sold it about $20,000 over asking price through kind of the marketing and stuff that we did. So I don't know about you. I'm a little thrifty. My wife says I'm cheap, but I'm a little thrifty. Taking a $40,000 hit for convenience, I don't like to buy the small little 20-ounce drinks when I can buy a 2-liter for about the same price. It'd be hard for me to swallow a $40,000 hit for convenience. So it's just some things to kind of think about.
So how strong is that you said instant? What is it called?
Instant offers.
Instant offers. Yeah. We hear that's pretty big in Charlotte. It's a lot more talked about down that direction. Is it?
I've seen the first
here?
one come through in my area. I had an instant offer come in on one of my listings Wednesday, and it wasn't Zillow or anything, but they ran the numbers and we're going to submit an offer on one of our listings. So you're seeing it more now. Zillow is open in Charlotte. They're opening an office now in Raleigh, and they're expanding into. I think they announced in the last earning report they're going into like 30 or 40 more markets.
in North Carolina?
Across the country.
Across the country.
Those are the only two that I'm aware of in North Carolina. But it's just you just got to pay attention. I mean, one of the top softwares used by real estate agents is called Dotloop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dotloop is owned by Zillow.
Mm-hmm.
So Zillow is now a licensed firm in North Carolina. Do you feel comfortable having another firm own the software that you're using? There's a lot of questions.
Interesting.
A lot of questions. We talk a lot about the technology stuff, but yeah, a lot of questions that are opened up with that.
So back to this instant offer, I thought that was kind of a listing approach, that they would go in as a listing agent and say, you don't have to put your house on the market. We'll pay you X dollars for the property. So you're saying you had an offer on one of your listings, so it kind of helped.
Yeah, I think what happened was my client came across the website, "We'll buy your house" or something. So I had the property listed, but I think he went in and put in the information.
Okay.
And so, and that's where a lot of them will work. But I have heard from other agents, because I teach in Charlotte, I teach in Raleigh. I have heard of them approaching. I mean, we've been seeing it in our area for a while. There's some large real estate investment trusts that have bought a lot of houses, which, American Homes for Rent's one, and there's some other ones that have bought a lot in this area. And it's really, if you look at the number that they bought in the past 2 years, we've really been struggling with inventory levels. Inventory levels in our area, especially under 200,000, I mean, I've never seen it this low. Yeah. And that kind of goes into it kind of on the rental side. And,
So you think the real estate investment trusts are playing a big role in the low inventory in our area?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely right now.
So you think are they still buying like they, I mean,
Yes.
there for a while, this was probably 2 or 3 years ago, they were just buying multiple houses at a time, whatever, but they are active now?
Yeah, not as much as they were, but the past 3 weeks I've seen probably 4 offers from different ones in this area.
Interesting.
Just depending on what they're looking for and all.
Wow.
Okay.
A lot of big investors with a lot of cash that they want to.
The good side is also, I mean, obviously they like this area because, I mean, they crunch a lot of numbers and they don't go into areas that they don't see a lot of potential. So the fact that they're here buying them in Winston, Kernersville and all,
That's a good
says
point.
a lot.
That's a good point. So thinking about the technology again, the attrition rate for new realtors it's horrible.
88% are out of this industry within the first 5 years.
So
88%.
And I mean, it's got to be not far behind that just in the first year, the amount of people that drop off. What advice would you give to new realtors about what technology things do they need to be implementing to survive?
Okay. So if I talk with quite a few new agents and say, what's my recommendations? First off, get in with people that are, because that's one thing about this industry, there's always agents that are willing to help people. Get in with somebody that will work with you and help you out if that's at the firm that you're at. The funny thing, when you're a new agent, you have a lot of time on your hands. So I tell agents a lot of times, if you're brand new, get in and learn your systems, learn your software. Probably the top software that real estate brokers are going to use is ZipForms Plus and DocuSign. So spend the time and learn how to really use that software to where you can put your packets together in under 5 minutes. Because what's going to happen if you're good at this industry, or you're good at this business, you're going to look up one day and you're not going to have any time. Okay, so if you get really busy and you haven't really learned those steps, it's going to be hard, because now if it's slowing you down to do paperwork, you've kind of just capped yourself. But be willing to learn something every time. Put yourself out there. You've got to always be marketing. You got to be building your brand, but learn your systems and your procedures and everything, because when you get up and you're doing 20, 30, 40 deals a year, you'll have the pieces in place, and now you can start growing your team. It just makes that transition a lot harder instead of hitting kind of a cap and you're banging your head against the wall because you can't really do much more.
Right.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, get those systems in place. Get your tools together. I think this is a good segue. You said you teach a technology-based CE class. What's involved in that class? What do you teach in that?
Okay, so the CE classes that I teach, I teach a lot of they're not really CE-based classes. I teach a lot of technology stuff. Like Google, for example. I've kind of become known as the Google guy in North Carolina. But Google, like Gmail, for example, has so many things in there to maximize your productivity that a lot of people aren't aware about, like send it later feature and the reminder feature you can do inside of Gmail, which are really awesome. As far as the technology part or the CE part goes, I teach property management. It's called the Bick Up and Gen Up, which is the mandatory update for real estate agents. The technology course, which is the first class that I ever had written and got approved, it's focusing on the title of it is protecting clients' data in a technology-driven world, because real estate agents are big targets for hackers and scams. We've heard about wiring fraud that's gone through, real estate agents giving up their, getting their email account compromised. So that's a 4-hour CE credit. And we talk about what is a good password. And have you ever thought about how long your password needs to be? It's kind of scary.
It is scary. It is scary.
Hopefully it's not the word password.
Yeah.
There's a tip. If your password is password, change it. That is the number one used password every single year.
Yeah.
Okay? But most agents, most people altogether haven't really thought about how long their password needs to be. And I challenge people to try to have a password that's at least 10 characters, uppercase, lowercase, and special symbols. And then also use a password manager like LastPass or a program like that to store all these passwords for you so they don't drive you crazy trying to keep them all up. So that's a 4-hour class where we go through that process of coming up with a password. And
Well, with the password thing, I've even heard it talked about. There's a danger people keep the same password for a long time.
Absolutely.
And you'll have these old accounts that sit in places that are like a low-hanging fruit for hackers. And once they get the password there, then they can unlock everything you've done because you use the same password you used 10 years ago.
yeah, and then most people have the same password for different accounts.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm guilty.
And so it's tough. well, think about this.
Tell it. I didn't hear that.
Don't
Beep.
tell them. Don't tell them your password. But answer this: how many accounts do you think you have out there? You ever thought of that?
Oh man, it's gotta be dozens.
I would say you're probably in the hundreds. How many apps are on your phone? Those are all different accounts.
Yeah.
Okay. Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, you name it. Those should all have different passwords.
Right.
So how do you come up with passwords that are 10 characters long and they're different on every one without going absolutely crazy? That's something to think about, because if LinkedIn gets hacked, which LinkedIn got hacked in 2012, have you changed your LinkedIn password since 2012? If not, you probably put him on the spot. If not, you might want to think about doing that.
Yeah.
But if your LinkedIn password is the same of 10 other accounts that you have, now you can start having some major problems.
So there's software that you can use that would changes your password, continuously. Is that? I mean, you advocate
it
that?
doesn't really change your password for you. It's a database, and so you can easily go in and change it if you want to. Now, I highly recommend on main account, the number one account you cannot lose is your email account, because what's your username for probably most of the accounts you sign in with? Your email, right?
True.
How do you reset your password on any account you log into? You send the reset to your email. So if you lose your email, then people can reset all your stuff. It's a big problem. So what I recommend is always look at doing two-step authentication. Have you ever heard of that? Where you put your password in, and then there's usually a 6-digit code on your phone that changes every 30 seconds. So even if they get your password, they can't get into your account because they don't have the 6-digit code on your account. And when I teach this, people hear two-step authentication. They're like, nah, that's too techy. I can't do it. Well, you've been using it for years. You just haven't realized it. Have you got gas lately? What'd you have to have? Your credit card or debit card. What'd you have to know?
Zip code.
2 things. Exact same thing. If you've used a debit card lately, you had to have the card. You have to know your PIN. That's what two-step authentication is. It makes your account so much more secure. Even if they got your username and password, they still couldn't access your account.
And so those password managers, they store it, and then you just keep that locked down with its own password.
Yeah, really good, strong. Don't have password as your password on that, because you're just asking for trouble. But
need to take notes.
What you do, oh no, I know. So what you do, like I use LastPass, and there's different ones you can use out there. So LastPass, like I said, I'm a Google fan. I use Google Chrome. We have LastPass added to my browser, which if you're interested in my extensions and Chromes, I actually just put a video on LinkedIn. This shows you my top extensions and how to do this. But I know 2 passwords, and basically I log into my LastPass database, and now whenever I go to a website, it fills in my passwords for me. I have no idea what most of my passwords are. This program does it for me. It just fills it in for you.
I like that.
Yeah, you just got to take your time. I tell people, don't go out and change all your passwords at once, because you might lock yourself out of your account, but start slow using a password manager, because you get to the point to where, and that's why LastPass is LastPass. This is the last password you'll ever have to remember. Just get into that account.
And they automatically will generate random.
Yeah, so most of my passwords are 15, 20 characters long, completely random. I have no idea. And so, but because I'm not having to remember it, this software it takes care of it for me. So much more secure.
Cool. So How are we doing on time?
You're good.
Okay.
You got a couple more minutes? 5 minutes?
Yeah.
You said you're the Google guy.
Yeah.
Tell us, what do you mean by that?
So when I started really looking at technology and things were changing, YouTube was starting to really catch on. This was probably, 2008 or 9 maybe. So I just started playing with it and kind of self-taught myself a lot of this stuff. So I decided, I'm going to be the next YouTube star. I'm going to go make a video. And I got to thinking, what are questions that I'm asked all the time by my owners? And maybe I can make a video to answer their question. And so I went out to a property and I did about a 15-minute video, and it was horrible, awful, on how to winterize your house. And I'm like, that's a water meter. You need to take the cover off the water meter. That bar is a T-bar or a water meter key. Cut the water off, and like step by step. And I put it on YouTube and entitled How to Winterize Your Rental House. Well, about 6 months later, I started getting checks in the mail from Google because they were running AdWords on it. And I started getting calls from people all over pretty much the Southeast asking me to manage their house. I'm like, how'd you hear about me? And they're like, I watched your YouTube. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. I took it down because I changed companies a couple months, about 10 months later. I had 57,000 views.
Oh, wow.
At one time, if you just Googled how to winterize my house, my video was like #1. It was really cool. So I started seeing that you could do a lot of stuff with that. And then Gmail is just crazy good. All the stuff that you can add into it. So I just started playing with it and taking a lot of the Google stuff that people use are free, putting a little slant on it to help my real estate business. So one thing I use a lot in Gmail, a lot of people don't even know it's there, is canned responses. Okay, so you can go into settings and cut on your canned responses. And so think about the same emails you're writing over and over again. Write a canned response to where that way you don't have to write it again. You can click one button. So big right now is online reviews. So I have a canned response asking my clients, hey, if you were happy with what we did, can you leave me a review? I have a canned response. I click one button, and I can send out an email about this long that tells them exactly how to go on and leave online reviews. Videos, on the other hand, I sat down and recorded my screen. It's about a 20-minute video, and I explain our property management agreement. It makes it easier on me because I don't have to explain it. If somebody calls and is interested in my service, I said, you know what? Here's the Cliff Note versions. But I'm going to send you about a 20-minute video because I don't want you to have any questions if you sign paperwork with me. Now they can watch the video and you have that whole face-to-face. So I'm using video to kind of help me lighten my workload a little bit while providing outstanding service atop. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong with technology. They think we're losing the personal touch and everything, but I think you can use it to actually have more of a personal touch and get more productive in the meantime. Because, to have somebody explain an 8-page property management agreement over the phone is pretty hard. But if I can give you a 20-minute video, it just provides so much more value to that.
And
So
people
those are
can
some
stop
of the
it,
things.
rewind it,
Yeah,
play
absolutely.
it again.
Even though I have a Southern accent, and so I say I always sound like Barney Fife does real estate on video or anything. So hey, y'all, we sell houses and stuff. Come on down. But you don't think you ever get used to hearing yourself on that. But I think you can provide a lot of value with the tools that are already out there. You just got to learn how to incorporate it into your business.
That's awesome. Well, I know you're doing a lot of awesome stuff online. I think we'll wrap up the pro show there. Mark, if somebody wants to get a hold of you for property management or they want to list their house, how do they find you? Where do they go?
So a couple things. The main thing, you go to our website, which or you just Google Saunders Realty Winston-Salem. You'll see us all over that. You can go to srealtynow.com, so srealtynow.com. Search pretty much any site or any property that's on the market in our area. The property management sites come off of that, but it's rentwinston.com, and you can learn more about our property management, read reviews. We are the only 5-star rated property management firm off Google reviews right now in our area. We got right at 50 reviews, all 5-star across the board.
That's awesome.
So we're very proud of that. We got a really great team, and we'd be happy to help any way we can.
Awesome. Well, reach out to Mark if you need any help. Thanks for watching the show today. We'll be back next week to talk about chimneys. So if your house has a chimney and you're concerned about it, we're going to get you down and dirty and find out about that. So thanks for watching today. We'll be back next week. Bye, guys.
See ya.